But what an amazing guest we have in the house today. He's the founder of Enclave and Key. He's also the founder of one of the most entertaining poker leagues in the world right now. That is the Celebrity Poker Tour.
The fun of being an entrepreneur is if you're the kind of person who can dream up things that maybe someone hasn't thought about before, and then it's your job to try and bring those things to life. It's a lot of fun when you start to see those things come to life. So the process of that is really the fun.
The goal, CPT at the White House.
I would love it. Dana's gotten to go first now, getting the UFC.
I know. He's making noise in the business world with his newest podcast he just launched, The Blake Show. Do you burn or chill the pressure of the last name Wynn?
Burn. I love it. Steve and I weren't close growing up, and it wasn't because there was animosity or something. My parents got divorced when I was a little kid, and he is my dad's older brother, and I was raised by my single mom when my parents got divorced. And in 2016, I got asked to do an interview by the Review Journal. But mind you, I never had PR training. I had just gotten some success with the YouTube. I was a sophomore in high school. Last question you asked me, tell me about your dynamic with Steve or something. And now this is a guy that I had no animosity towards, but I didn't know him. I said, well, by the time I'm done with business, I think Steve will be remembered as my uncle. The cover of the paper, it's a 5-page spread. The sub headline in bold, by the time I'm done, Steve Wynn will be remembered as nothing more than my uncle. In the paper, how much money I make, what car I drive. And I'm like, oh. Well, I get a phone call from a number I don't have. Hello? This is Steve Wynn. Is this my nephew Blake? Hi, Steve. Oh my gosh. I'm reading that I'm going to be remembered as nothing more than your uncle one day. Is that true? Well, Steve, I didn't.
Blake Wynn.
Well, thank you for having me. I have so much energy. I want to like stand up and jump through a wall now or something.
Let's do it. Did you like the intro? Did you like the intro?
I loved it. That was amazing. I'm fired up.
I had to get a little fired up for this episode. We're excited to have you, but how you feeling? How you feeling about these questions?
I don't know what to expect. I'm a little nervous, but I burn the questions. I'm ready.
Oh, he's ready. Well, nothing else to be said. Let's get right into this. So this one, you're going to have to burn one and then chill one. Burn or chill the difficulty of starting Celebrity Poker Tour?
Oh.
Because I know how it is as like a business owner and like all sorts of that. It's hard.
So if I burn it, that means I liked the process of starting?
Yeah. Or yes, it was difficult.
Oh, I see. Yeah. It is, like you said, it's kind of down that line. I would say burn. I mean, look, I think everybody who's an entrepreneur, the fun of being an entrepreneur is if you're the kind of person who can dream up things that maybe someone hasn't thought about before, and then it's your job to try and bring those things to life. It's a lot of fun when you start to see those things come to life. So the process of that is really the fun. There's that great quote from, I don't know if it was originally said, but I think of it as being a quote from The Office, the sitcom, if you ever watched it.
Love the show.
Where Andy Bernard says, I just wish you knew you were in the good old days before you left them. And that's the best way to describe it. I don't want to restart Celebrity Poker Tour. I would chill on doing that. You know, it's been 18 months. Doesn't feel like a day more than 19 months. But you know, it's been a lot of fun to have those ideas of what if we did, you know, what if we got families to play against each other? What if we got married couples playing against each other? All celebrities. You know, we had the Gronkowski brothers. We had the Chrisley family. We had Princess Love and Ray J were married. We have people that are dating each other come play. That's one example, but experimenting with those things is the fun. That's why I say burn, because we're still in that experimental phase of what do you think would happen if we, you know, had more players in our player pool, less players in our player pool, offered betting on the tournaments, you know, all those things that we've been doing. We do now offer betting on the tournaments, but so that's the fun of it, right? Is getting to have those ideas and try and bring them to life.
It's the process too.
The process is the fun.
It is the fun part. And it's cool for you probably now looking back 19 months to see, holy crap, like look what we've done so far and just
all
a
the
short
people
amount of
that
time.
you've met too.
And brought together. Because if you guys haven't been to one of their events, like it's amazing. The dynamic and the energy, the environment, it's just like you don't want to miss an event. You can't miss an event.
I will say that's the, you know, I make the joke to our team internally. It's like a wedding weekend every time we have one of these things, because you got 60 players. They all have a guest or two, and they're all here for CPT. right? And so you got talking about 120 to 200 people that are just in town for this, not even including our local friends like you guys who come and hang out. So then we're there, we're all dressed up, everybody's all dressed up, everybody's all excited, everybody's filming, cameras are out, studios are nice. Everywhere. And there's 200, 250 people in there who are like, oh, thanks for having me. This is really cool. Wow, you did a great job. You know, and everybody's all excited. Everybody's sort of, you know, directing attention towards myself or to Hayes or to our players. So it feels like a wedding.
Yeah, no, literally,
you know?
It does.
And so it's just, it's a lot of fun because I will say, you know, you mentioned that I like the country and stuff, right? We do political work and we do our things, and CPT is definitely the most smiley thing we do is probably a good way to put it, right? Like it's very light, it's lighthearted, it's funny, it's entertaining, you know, it's hard to get worked up or upset or feel like there's no conflict around CPT. You throw an event, everybody has a good time, people at home love it, go on to the next one. So it's a really fun way to get to do business. You're doing it with friends, you're doing it with cool people. I mean, I've had times where I go up. Clinton Portis was a guy that came and played. And I grew up watching him. I was a big Redskins and Chargers fan growing up. Now the Commanders.
Okay. We're DC fans over here. Yeah. Our dad's from Virginia.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, born and raised Redskins fans.
Redskins here.
My only connection was as a kid, I had Sean Taylor fathead on my wall. I just thought Sean Taylor was like the coolest football player. He had died when I was really little, but before he died, he was my favorite player. So I loved Clinton Portis. And like Clinton came, and I had the jersey of Clinton that I've had since I was a little kid. And I was like, Clinton, I got to have you sign this. And it's those moments where, you know, Matthew McConaughey has a great quote when he's winning, I think, an Oscar, right? That's what actors win. And he says, everyone asks me who my hero is, and my goal for myself in my life is that it's me in 10 years. I want to know that my hero is that guy that I'm going to be so I can always keep chasing, keep growing. But at the same time, if I think back to myself 10 years ago and I look at where I'm standing today winning an Oscar, so McConaughey says, he's like, obviously I'd be amazed, right? And all these people I grew up idolizing, you know, I went to a school of 50 kids in my grade. I didn't know more than 60 people till I was 16 years old and started my YouTube channel. And now all these stars I grew up watching are close friends. It is super
wild.
it's surreal
amazing.
at times. It's definitely surreal. Yeah.
It's cool for us too because, you know, we didn't grow up doing YouTube or doing a show or like meeting people like you or these athletes, these celebrities, and it's really cool. And I like that quote because looking back 10 years, it's like, wow, like look what I've done. And it's hard because you're always like hard on yourself, and being an entrepreneur, it's tough. You know, every day is difficult and you go through things and ups and downs, but to really look back and see like everything that you've done is really cool, but doesn't take away from the hunger though.
No,
you got to keep going.
No, it doesn't. But there's those moments. I mean, I was just having dinner with the Chrisley family the night before this last tournament. And I watched the Chrisley Knows Best, like on certain dates in high school. Like that was something my girlfriend in high school at the time and I would watch. And so now I'm really close friends with Savannah. I've gotten to know her rest of her family very well. I'm like sitting at the dinner and Todd and Julie and the grandmother are all there and they all act like they did on the show, making fun of each other. Every word out of Todd Chrisley's mouth, probably the most naturally funny guy I've ever been around. That's Todd Chrisley. And I know a lot of comedians and it's not a slight to them, but Todd is one of the funniest people I've ever met. And I'm just sitting there like, this is amazing. I'm like watching my own unreleased episode of this show. And I'm sort of a part of it.
Live show.
This is unbelievable. Yeah, a ton of fun.
That's really cool. Yeah, super, super proud of you guys because what you guys have created is amazing. Obviously, you're going to burn that process.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what, the goal, CPT at the White House.
I would love it. Dana's gotten to go first now, getting the UFC.
I know
over
the
there.
UFC there.
You're next. I think what will happen first is we'll bring people from the White House to the CPT. I'll say that. I think that's what's coming soon.
A little bit more natural too to do it that way.
Hey, but then they come, you're like, hey, put a little whisper in his ear for us.
I got to go spend some time at the White House earlier this year. I got to go in the Oval Office and everything. And I gotta say, people don't realize how many rooms there are in there. Not like bedrooms, like rooms that are set up like conference rooms, and they all have fancy names. The Roosevelt Room, and they all have these different personalities to them. But easily could set it up. So if anyone in politics is watching this, and I know there's probably a couple if it's on my Instagram, I would love to use specifically the Roosevelt Room for the CPT because it's a great space for it, and it's right off the Oval Office. It'd be perfect.
You heard it.
Any
Speaking
political
into
people?
Existence.
Yeah, Roosevelt Room.
It's coming before. What is the White House like though? How do you explain it? Is it like everything that people imagine?
I don't know what everybody imagines. I will say this: nobody, including the president, hardly ever actually enters through like the front door or through that awning where the cars can pull up, which you'd see. Everybody enters through the west wing. You know, there's security. You actually get cleared right in front of what's called the Eisenhower building, which is the office building right next to the White House. So you get cleared to come in from about a block and a half away, and then you walk in, and then there's another set of security. Then you go in through the west wing, then you go up the stairs, and that's where you get to usually, you know, a conference room where you're meeting with somebody, or a holding area. Because usually if you're going to the White House, you know, granted, I didn't go on like a tour. I was a guest of when Tulsi Gabbard got sworn in to be director of national intelligence. Her and I are very close, and so she was kind enough to invite me to come with her and her sister and her husband Abraham to be there while she got sworn in by Pam Bondi and Donald.
That's super cool.
And it was a blast. So we're standing in there, and I got to, you know, go in the Oval Office while she got sworn in and give her little introduction speech. And I think the neatest thing is the press, because you go in there and the press wasn't in there yet. They're waiting outside because you can enter the Oval Office from outside. So the press is all waiting, and we're all in there, and Trump sort of saying little jokes and has everybody doing, you know, there's like 10 of us in the room. It's Tulsi, her family, it's him, it's 2 or 3 people from his campaign team. So, okay, let him in. And as if you could hear like a whoosh, 50 of these press people fill in this little room. It's not, Oval Office is not that big. 50 people fill in. They're sitting down. They're standing up. You can hear the snapping. They're not really talking because it's not time to ask questions. So everybody's sitting there quietly. Trump's talking. Tulsi's talking. Pam's talking. Whoever's talking is talking. And then as soon as it's like, all right, we'll take a couple of questions, they all start saying their questions at the exact same time. And then finally Trump like gives a little point, and then that person gets to ask their question. Everybody else stops on a dime. No one talks over that person. He answers. All right, we'll take another question. Blah, blah, blah. There you go. And then they go. And then when it's over, it's kind of like one of the staffers comes in. All right, no more questions. Everyone picks up. They're out. In like 3 seconds. Right back out the way they came. No one says nice. You know, just
rinse and repeat every single day.
And you're right, they do that so many times a day. It's fascinating. But it's, I mean, look, I grew up really into American history. I collect history, like memorabilia. I think that stuff's cool. So for me, I thought it was a really neat experience to, you know, be there, especially given the context in which I was there. But it's a neat place. I mean, they do walking tours, if I'm not mistaken, and I recommend people do it. I mean, I think, you know, if you're American, or even if you're not American, I think it's cool to know the history of the country. You know, it is kind of the great empire of modern day in a lot of ways, right? You know, it's the gold standard in terms of, you know, government, society, pretty much globally, even as we have our ups and downs, which we have. So I think it's a neat thing, right? When you're in those rooms and you think about like what these walls have seen, right? If these walls could talk, it's kind of it's steroids compared to what I think about CPT, but it's actually, it all kind of goes together, right? Like it's, for me, it's having fun, recognizing you're in those moments where, wow, gosh, can you imagine if these walls could regurgitate all the stories? We had 14 CPTs now, and I could sit here all day and rattle crazy things that have happened off, and you guys could do the same because you've been there for a lot of them. But then you think about the White House, and you see, I mean, you're in the Oval Office, and you see the picture of John Adams on a wall or Thomas Jefferson, and you're like, no, like they sat here too. You know? I mean,
you can't even wrap your mind
It's
around it.
so hard. It's so hard, right?
I mean,
like,
all the in-depth stuff too that like people have no idea about would be cool.
I remember there, you know, the 2 yellow couches in there where all the world leaders sit, and the 2 chairs. I remember when I was walking in, just intentionally, kind of subconsciously, I grazed the chairs. And I remember as I was replaying the day in my head, leaving there, I was like, I touched that chair then. My God. I mean, I'm not saying it makes it cooler that these people are cool, but just the magnitude of like Putin sat here, like
everyone sat there.
Multiple presidents have sat here, and that's not counting how many times they probably reupholstered it. I mean, like, just since the last time, right? I mean, what's the guy's name? Zelensky, Netanyahu. I mean, and again, I'm not trying to get political. It's not. I'm just saying it's cool to think about everybody that's running the free world or the not free world has sat
been in there. Yeah, it's really cool, and like you said, it all wraps together. You can learn stuff from, I mean, being even government back to that, you can relate to CPT, and hopefully we get a CPT there, but it is time to go to question number 2, kind of the similar style. You just got to burn it or chill it. Do you burn or chill having the pressure of the last name Wynn?
Burn. I love it. You know, it's funny. Steve and I are very, very close. He's really like a father figure to me. And I think he would describe, he doesn't have any sons. So I think he would describe me as kind of like the son he never had. Steve and I weren't close growing up. And it wasn't because there was animosity or something. My parents got divorced when I was, a little kid. And he is my dad's older brother. And I was raised by my single mom when my parents got divorced. So I just didn't really have contact. And in 2016, I got asked to do an interview by the Review Journal, which is a big paper here. And I thought, that'd be neat. And so the guy says, well, let me meet you at IHOP for breakfast. I'll ask you some questions and it'll be a column on Sunday. So I said, great. So I go to this interview and the guy's sitting there with a notepad and he asks me questions. And then he starts asking me a little more personal questions. But mind you, I never had PR training. I had just gotten some success with the YouTube. I was a sophomore in high school. I'd been reselling sneakers for 5 years. How much money do you make? This year, last year I made $125,000. That's 15? Yeah. What have you done with some of your money? Not much. I bought my own car. What kind of car do you have? Mercedes CLA 250, brand new, 2016. You bought that for yourself? Yeah. And I'm answering these questions, and I'm thinking to myself, these are odd questions. Why does this guy need to know this for a column in a newspaper? Last question he asked me, it was a similar question which you just asked me. He says, what does being a Wynn mean to you? Or tell me about your dynamic with Steve or something. And now this is a guy that I had no animosity towards, but I didn't know him. Really. I hadn't seen him since I was 4 years old, 5 years old. I said, well, by the time I'm done with business, I think Steve will be remembered as my uncle. Well, instead of being a column, the cover of the paper, it's a 5-page spread, and I'm a cover picture. Success in the jeans or the sneakers. A younger Wynn starting a sneaker empire. The sub-headline in bold is my quote. By the time I'm done, Steve Wynn will be remembered as nothing more than my uncle. Oh. The paper comes out, and in the paper, how much money I make, what car I drive, everything. And I'm like, ooh. And my mom and my high school, nobody was happy with me they're like, why would you say all this? I'm like, how would I know? I don't know. Never thought that. I don't know. I guess in retrospect, it's like, how do you not think of that? But when you're 16 years old and you've never been interviewed by anybody before,
you don't know anything.
If an adult asks you a question, you answer the adult's question as honestly as you can, to the best of your ability. So that's what I did. Well, I get a phone call from a number I don't have. Hello. Hi. This is Steve Wynn. Is this my nephew, Blake? Hi, Steve. Oh, my gosh. It's nice to hear from you. Yeah. Listen, my secretary, Joyce, brought a paper in here, and I'm reading that I'm going to be remembered as nothing more than your uncle one day. Is that true? Well, Steve, I didn't.
I can explain.
I can explain. I didn't mean it. No. I didn't think you did. Do you believe that there's a chance that that's true? So, well,
oh my God.
Steve, I put it this way, as you read, I'm doing very well for myself at 16, and you were probably in high school at 16, so I've at least got a little bit of a head start, right? And I kind of thought, like, maybe I'll make it funny. Well, I had no idea my nephew's an entrepreneur. I'd love to spend some time with you. How about you come for dinner tomorrow night? Okay, sure. Tell me where. Yeah, we'll come have dinner at Wynn. Okay, sure. Since then, we've been really, really close. So incidentally, getting asked this question is how I rekindled and created a relationship with my uncle.
Crazy.
I don't have that same sentiment now. I'm not 16 anymore. He actually, incidentally, may have that sentiment. I mean, look, I have so much respect for everything Steve did for this city, for his family. I mean, one of the greatest entrepreneurs of all time, and he's made such an effort to translate a lot of his knowledge and his little nuggets of wisdom to me that I've been very fortunate. And you can see a lot of Steve. If you knew what to look for, you see a lot of Steve in the CPT. You see a lot of Steve in our business efforts. I mean, Steve is a designer. So, when you talk about the centerpieces, the food, the catering, the attitude of every employee that's there, you might not have realized it, but
it is.
Every single one of my employees knows both your names. And when you walk in, hi, it's nice to see you. And so they do that because that's part of what we do. We make every employee memorize every person's name, their drink order, their face, their Instagram, so they can be tagged if we need to do anything. Like, so they take tests. And if they don't get a 98 or above on that test, they don't get to work that event, and I'll honestly probably fire them. But nobody fails it because that's the level of expectation that we have, right? And so, and failing it would be getting a 94. But that's because when you walk in, welcome home to these kinds of celebrities. Hi, Todd, it's nice to see you.
Yeah.
I know you don't drink. We got Diet Coke special for you. I know you like Diet Soda. Okay, can I have one? Sure. We already got it for you, right?
Yeah.
That level of hospitality, I learned all that kind of shit from Steve.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff makes all the difference in the world. When you see all these celebrities having a great time and they're all there and they took time out of their lives to come to Las Vegas. This isn't a 20-minute come be on my podcast 5 minutes from where you live. This is come to Las Vegas for a weekend on your own dime and participate in this for free because it's cool and it's a fun thing. They come once, they love it, they all want to come back. So I have a lot of fun being Steve's nephew. I'll put it that way. Yeah, we have a great relationship.
No, that's awesome. And just from something so chaotic to almost being the blessing in disguise.
Oh, yeah.
Which is insane. And yeah, Steve would be proud.
Steve would. I mean, look, at the end of the day, I respect the fact that it's almost unfair that someone like that is my uncle, right? Like, I get what it looks like on paper, right? You got a billionaire. You got a guy with no kids. He's got 2 daughters, but different story. And so, it's one of those things where it's like, how did I get so lucky to have this guy as an uncle? And how did I get, and I got the genes from him, I think, of really being an entrepreneur, someone who's used to taking risk. I've been one since I was, I paid tax for the first time when I was 12 years old, so it's something I've been doing a long time. I'm 25 now, so literally more than half of my life I've been signing money away to the government and what have you.
That's awesome.
But I think it's very cool, and I would say I now more so hope to be like him as opposed to trying to beat him or something like that.
He's nothing more than your uncle.
Yeah, literally. No, that's amazing. And I mean, not many people could ever say that Steve is their uncle, and it's awesome to see that he's passing his knowledge to you and you're using it and just learning the little things in life. And honestly, the little things take you the furthest in life.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, everything's in the details in business.
Everything.
You guys will know, anybody who's ever spent 5 minutes trying to do business, maybe they couldn't figure out the details, but then they realized that's where they failed. But there is no such thing as success without major attention to detail and success in navigating those details, for sure.
And you learn a lot.
Yeah.
Especially in business. But we can talk forever about this, but it's time to go to question number 3. This one is kind of funny, but I don't know if you've done it yet or not.
Okay.
So burn or chill, playing in the World Series of Poker on like the legit side.
Oh, for me, I would say chill. I'm not really like a poker player. I do think what the World Series does is awesome. So I'm not chilling on their brand. I'm just chilling on my desire
you participate.
Participate. I think the hardest thing is their tournaments last days. And you actually, the main event, for example, you could play 4 days, and if you lose in the beginning of day 4, you literally don't even cash. Like you got to play like a week of poker, and this is 12-hour days against good players, very little breaks, just to like double your money.
It's a mental grind more than anything, really.
I don't want to gamble $10,000 in one session either, but if I was, I am more so the type where I'd be like, all right, 10,000 on red, let's go. I'll know in the next 30 seconds if I'm a winner, if I'm a loser, and then.
That's the way to play.
I think being an entrepreneur, right? Like the biggest thing in life is time and time management. It's part of what allows you to get into the details, like we just talked about. And poker by nature is a long game. That's why I like what we do at CPT, because we keep a 60-person tournament to 3 hours.
Yeah.
And even at times that it sometimes takes 4 hours, I'm like, that was an hour too long, honestly. Right? Look at it this way. If the NFL only can entertain you for 3 hours, and the NBA can only entertain you for 2.5, and so on and so forth, you think poker's going to entertain you for 40 hours? Like, so that's the part where that's why our numbers are so big compared to a lot of these other poker businesses. Granted, very different stuff. I wouldn't describe us as competitive to them. But the numbers are big because it's digestible like a sports game. It's not a 40-hour thing to commit a week to. I mean, people don't want to commit 40 hours to a job. They don't want to commit it to watching poker,
Yeah, especially if you kind of work a normal job too, and you got family and stuff like that. You can't spend 5-6 days watching a tournament. You spend 2 or 3 hours, and know who wins at the end.
I would say once in life I'll do it for the novelty of it.
You have to.
If I sell CPT or something later on in life, I'll probably take 10,000 of it and be like, you know what? I owe this to the poker world. I'll just put it back in the ethos. I wouldn't win. I'm not good at poker. So
all right. Well,
neither am I.
I'll go in with you on that one of these days. I'll try it for once. Why not?
Right.
In a time, in a situation, I'll do it. But poker's crazy. It's a tough sport, and there's a lot of very good poker players out there that you got to play against.
There is, and it doesn't really matter how good you are. Like there is an element of luck.
That
just like anything, 100% relevant to the game. Doesn't only so much you can do.
I mean, you can have nothing and bluff your way to the win.
And it's not even a bluffing thing. You could have. you can have nothing, and you just, you end up with the best cards. I mean,
Yeah, high card. Like,
Yeah.
6 people at the table and you win on high card. Like, how's that even possible?
No, I mean, we just this last tournament in the final table, I think John Johnson went all in with kings, and someone called him with tens, and the first card out was a 10, so they got their 3 of a kind. I mean, and then if you're a math mind, it's like, well, that does happen 19% of the time, right?
Yeah.
So it's actually not that low when you really think about it, but it's one of those things where you're like, how did tens beat kings if you're not used to poker, right?
Yeah.
So, and so take that analogy, and now imagine instead of that happening to you for free 2 hours into the CPT, that happens to you on day 3, hour 9, where you bought in for 10 grand and you got all your money in with kings, 81% chance to win or whatever, and then you lose. And it's just like, hey,
I guess that's
Cheesecake
why they call it
Factory
gambling.
and go home, I guess, right?
Cheesecake
Like
Factory
it's just
and bounce.
terrible.
Yeah.
I don't have the patience.
Yeah, I know. It is long too, like 5 hours or even 5 days of
Yeah.
poker. Woo!
It's long.
Let's go to the roulette table.
I'll burn that with you. We'll do it one time. One of
Yeah.
these days we'll
One
do it
time
together.
burn,
We're gonna
but
look
for
back
now,
at this
chill.
clip and be like, remember when
They're
we said
gonna
that?
go play, and I'm
We
gonna
gotta
be
do that.
watching, and I'm gonna be laughing.
He's gonna be at the Cheesecake Factory, like you
Yeah,
said.
I'm gonna burn my money when I go play. I should have chilled.
Yeah, but it's time to go to our 4th question. We talked about this a little bit at the beginning. Politics. Don't want to get too deep into politics, but would you burn or chill ever running for some type of political power, whether it be a senator or mayor or whatever?
I would chill.
Really?
Run. I would have a lot of fun running. I think.
Yeah.
The idea, being involved in campaigns and seeing how they work, and speaking to people, meeting people. I think I'd have fun with all of it, because running a campaign is similar to like running CPT in the sense of like it's you're spending a lot of time with different people, you're networking, you're growing, you're figuring things out. Fundraising is not that different than selling sponsors, right? There's a lot of equivalence. I think I would really dislike being in office. It's tough. I mean, look, it's civil service, right? Being in the military, being a congressman, these are all just different ways to serve your country. I think it's a very noble thing to do if you're willing to devote your life to it. But you got to go live in Washington, D.C. You got to argue all day long, every day with people who you really fundamentally disagree with.
Yeah.
And maybe in some cases you really personally, deeply dislike, and all those kinds of things. And at least with the way politics are right now, without getting too into it, but this has to do with my answer, I don't really think if you get elected, you can overly represent maybe what you and your constituents think. I think you have to stick within the party lines. If you're a Republican right now and you go against Trump, you're probably not going to ever get reelected.
Yeah.
And if you're a Democrat and you leave their agenda a little bit, like some of these Democrats that have decided that what Trump is doing is okay. Some of these Democrats that are hypothetically left of the mainstream Democratic Party that are kind of more like social, like they have a very little political home, which makes your career a very short one if you're in politics. And so I don't know. I think one of the most fun things about being an entrepreneur is you get the fun of being an individual, and you don't necessarily have to, you have to answer to people. You have to answer to your employees. You have to answer to yourself. You have to answer to, your investors if you took money from people or whatever it may be. But very different than answering to a combination of your party and your constituents.
Yeah.
I don't know how they do it all the time, because take the really deeply hot button issues out of it. I'm going to give you an example that's not going to upset anybody.
Yeah.
Okay. In the big, beautiful bill that just passed, that Trump passed, what he calls it, there's a provision in there that makes gambling a lot less compelling, where basically you can now, let's say you bought in for $1,000 and you lose $1,000, you actually have to pay tax on $100. You only 90% of your losses count.
Yeah.
So in other words, if you buy in and you lose 100% of your money, you still owe the government money for money you tried gambling. That's not really very good for a state like Nevada.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, the Democratic senator from here, Jackie Rosen, along with someone who's as Republican as anybody, Ted Cruz from Texas, they're working together to pass a provision to undo that.
Yeah.
Right? That being said, you ask yourself, well, if both sides of the aisle are okay with it, why did it pass in the first place? Without boring you with the details of how it passed in the first place, that's exactly my point.
Like always, like, comment, and subscribe at The Burn Factory Show. Stay tuned. Hit that notification bell. We got a lot more stuff coming, from Fight Talk videos to interviews. Be sure to stay tuned with The Burn Factory, and we are out of this episode.